Click the links to join the subscribe star. I think I'm going to start using that and start putting politically incorrect videos on there. Or Odyssey, Bit Chute, Gab, Telegram. So this is, let's look at the players in the game, the Donald Trump Florida raid. This is, everything that's going on is late stage Weimar before, where it's at the point of this, where the people in power who have access to money are just trying to raid the treasury as fast as possible. It's like, oh, the money's, you've got homeless Americans in the street, and you have wide open borders, and you have money going to Ukraine, billions and billions of dollars going to Israel, Ukraine, and a bunch of other foreign countries too. You look at that, and like, just logically, you can look at that and go, that doesn't make any sense. We're taxpayer money. So clearly the federal government is way too powerful. This was never intended to be as powerful. If you want to save this, you're going to have to dial the federal government way back and go back to a 50-state model and get rid of things like the Department of Justice, the FBI, the IRS, and go back to a 50-state model where you've got the states running the government. It's as it was intended to be. That's the only way to save. And like, I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think you're going to save this peacefully, because the people who are represented us, those damn rhinos and the Democrats, no, all of them, all 535 people in office are just taking a paycheck to get his. Yes, there's more corruption on the left. Nancy Pelosi, $140 million Nancy Pelosi. Yeah, obviously she's like, that money's coming from America. The money's coming from us. No, her husband is trading on inside information that she had access to. Yeah, the Security and Exchange Commission should have arrested her and charged her years ago. Like, even if you're on the left, you should look at that and all these other politicians who are worth hundreds of millions of dollars, go like, oh, we can't let this slide just because they're our guy. It's like Nancy Pelosi should have been arrested. Her husband should have been arrested, not merely for drunk driving, years ago. The fact that they're not, it's like, you can't continue to look at stuff like that, stuff like raiding a former president, using the political power of the new president to raid the former president. That's banana republic stuff. That's third world country stuff. Other countries, China, Russia, are just looking back, say, China released a statement. They said something like, we're not going to do anything to interfere with America's failure, because it's like, no, Biden's not running the show. But you can look at his cabinet and you know very clearly who's running the show. So if people in 2020, there's disputed elections, and I don't think on YouTube you can say, you have to be careful what you say, otherwise they'll delete the video. But if people believe that the elections were not above board, then they also have finally come to the conclusion that, oh, well, in future presidential elections, what's if there's no point in voting? What is it? The soapbox, the ballot box, and the cartridge box. Well, if you're past the ballot box stage, well, the next stage is the cartridge box. And like, you have to realize that, yeah, that's inevitable. If your votes don't matter, then what's the point of voting? Then they've already crossed that line. And now beyond that, it's like, well, this is a huge deal to go after an ex-president, because it's never been done before. This is not how and it's like, people aren't stupid. They see how the media and the deep state, and we know who controls the deep state. No, it's not China. Biden's cabinet doesn't have dual citizenship with China. They've gone after this guy Trump for years, and there's been nothing there. I mean, from something as stupid as like the BuzzFeed P dossier to whatever other nonsense they come up with, and you go, yeah, I can't help but, like, Hillary Clinton actually had servers. She violated FBI policy and Department of Treasury policy. She actually had her servers, and nobody raided her. And, you see stuff like Epstein Weinstein. This Judge Reinhart is tied in with Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. You see stuff like, oh, so Maxwell got charged, and the judge, Allison Nathan, made some of the proceedings secret for reasons I can't talk about on YouTube. But if you're on Odyssey and Bit Chute, you know what's up. So people look at that and they go, oh, okay, so the client list. Where's the charges against the client list? Who the Epstein, Maxwell tied in with Reinhart and Allison Nathan, this judge who later got appointed to the Federal Court of Appeals by Biden, or Biden's cabinet, who's actually pulling the strings. Like, people are looking at all this. They're looking at this them going after Trump, this deep state going after Trump, and these Epstein people pulling the strings on this, and like they know this is not the country the founding fathers envisioned. Now, I'm not a Trump person, and I'm also not one of these hopium types who are looking for an external messiah, a savior complex to save us. I realize that it's up to us to save us. Form militias now, form identity groups now. So I read an article in the Daily Stormer by Andrew Anglin, and he's talking about, he thinks, like, I mean, obviously the reason they did this is to destroy Trump's chance in 2024. I think the opposite is actually coming true, because I think there's a lot of moderates, not just the right, but a lot of moderates who are looking at this attack on Trump, and they know it's weird. And it's weird in a way that kind of makes them feel a little sick, because it lets us know that there are people who are controlling not only this government, but many other governments around the world who are tied in with Epstein Weinstein and Maxwell, these very powerful people who can have Epstein killed in prison. And not only Epstein killed in prison, his partner in a French prison. Well, the cameras went out, and he actually he killed himself also, or was probably murdered. It's like, we know that Epstein and that French guy, no, we know that they didn't hang themselves in a prison where they're on camera and the cameras didn't shut off. Like, so people are coming to the conclusion that there's very, wealthy, Soros, Rothschilds, Schwab's, Vanguard, BlackRock, WEF, GPPP, these groups that are running these countries as NGOs, and it's like, well, we want to run the country as ourselves, and well, that's the reason they open up the borders, because to diversify the country decreases unity. It destroys the strength of a country so that they can be run by these outside, bankers and big tech type of groups. There's no strength in diversity. It's just weak. Like, if you want to destroy a union, you diversify it so they can't. There's nothing to coalesce around. So people are finally coming to these conclusions, and this is the end stage where the left wing, I'll say these internationalist groups, these Bolsheviks, are trying to accelerate the destruction as fast as possible, loot the treasury, diversify Europe and America, Canada, Australia, New Zealand as much as possible, so that, the point of no return. And, for America and Canada, that ship has sailed. But, I mean, you could still break off chunks of the country and take it for identity groups. But Europe, you could still turn it around. And so it's a race between this left-wing Bolsheviks to try to accelerate things as much as possible, to destroy things at the point of no return, versus normal people just waking up, like nationalists versus globalists, waking up and going like, oh, we need to deal with this and these Epstein people. So anyway, what happened to Florida was Judge Bruce Reinhart, who signed the warrant to raid Trump's. He's got connections to the Epstein and Epstein's client list. And you go, listen, if they're powerful enough, like that Epstein thing, that seems like that should be a bigger deal. Epstein getting yeeted in prison on suicide watch while the cameras are on, and you can look at the two guards on the Epstein case. I guess I could pause and look it up, but I mean, they look like just two idiots who you approach them and go like, yeah, we're gonna off Epstein, so we'll give you guys $250,000 each to just go surf the computers. So they're surfing computers, and their search history was investigated. And for somehow it came out, it's like the guy was looking at new motorcycles to buy, how to spend the money. That it's like, you can't have a high trust nation, high trust society with low trust people running it. And I mean, you know what I'm saying with that. It's like there's no fixing the total. There's no fixing everything at once. The best thing you could do would be to separate off in different geographic areas for different levels of trust of people, of different identity groups. Like, you could take part of southern Canada, just draw a line across it, and part of northern America, USA, draw a line across and say, okay, we're gonna turn this into a constitutional republic for people, for high trust types of people. I think you know what I'm saying there. And I mean, it sounds a little bit, it sounds like a big step, but it's like, if you look at what's going on in not only America, but the world today, what the globalists are doing to Western nations, that it's a very reasonable conclusion. It's like countries only last a few, so many years, 250 years. It's like, well, yeah, America's time is up, Canada's time is up, because you let these globalists come in your country. It's like, well, globalists destroy nations. And people are waking up to that now. And there's a lot of people who just, like, there's a lot of left-wing people who just don't want to come out of the matrix. They're keeping the blue pills. It's like, okay, you can stay in the areas of the country that vibrant, multicultural, diverse enrichment, and people want to have a constitutional republic, a conservative, safe state where you've got clean, safe neighborhoods and where you prosecute criminals. Like the stuff they're doing in America now, where they're just not prosecuting people for violent crime. That's insane. There's a theory of broken window policing. You got people who just act like animals. Like Hillary Clinton called them super predators. Yeah, obviously. I mean, you got to have crime and punishment. Otherwise, you got people who need structure, and when they're not given structure, they just turn into animals and they just destroy. Like they're rapidly destroying civilization, and people are seeing what's going on. They know what's up, and it's kind of funny to sit back and watch left wingers have to kind of deal with this, the consequences of the BLM stuff and the defund the police. And it's like many police departments have not been defunded, but the DAs and the Soros-appointed DAs and Soros-appointed judges are just catch and release. They're decriminalizing stuff. California, you can steal $950 or less, and it's just not. It's decriminalized. Like, yes, they could charge you, but they just don't. It's like, so what happens? Oh, so stores are going out of business because they're getting. Well, they have insurance. Like the people who say that are Dunning-Kruger. They're legitimately to the left of the bell curve. They're too stupid to know that they're stupid, and the people who know what's going on are cheering for the destruction. But if you're the moderate liberal who's, San Francisco liberal who's looking around at this like, yeah, my Tesla's getting broken into and my garage is getting broken into every month. Like eventually, you look at Libby Schaaf and during the Wooflu thing, she gave taxpayer money to everyone in Oakland, low income people who were not white. And you look at that and like, why she's still in office? Again, end stage Weimar. And I mean, what comes after that. Anyway, check me out, subscribe. I did this video for YouTube, so I try to stay within the navigational guidelines, be a little not politically incorrect for the other YouTube channel. Check me out, subscribe, Odyssey, Bit Chute, where there's no filter on Odyssey, Bit Chute. And I will see you guys all next episode.